Awesome. Welcome to Whiskey Fridays. We have the lovely Michael Bunker and the absolutely dynamite, always hit on Nicole Quiliari. And I am Joe Girard, and we are drinking whiskey, and it looks like it's the day before Halloween, in case you're watching this at a time that's not the day before Halloween. Cafe Oye. So part of, you know what, I was just saying to Nicole, Mike, I did you look wonderful, by the way. Are you talking or are you just giggling? I can't hear you. Your volume is off. Oh. No, eating it is not going to help you, son.
Can't hear you.
Turn on your mic. Turn on your mic. Turn on your mic. You look like my aunt, actually. I feel weird because if I click tell your aunt, I feel like it's just going to go right to your Facebook page. I can't hear you, Mike. You're no, it's not there. Anyways, while Mike figures out his life, you may want to log back out, log back in, or whatever you're doing. What happened is I had the blab scheduled and I clicked on it and I had my camera open in another application. So I clicked the little X above my profile and it just shut the whole thing down. So there's like, it should have, I think I'm going to request a blab, like have a, are you sure you want to end this thing button? Because there's like so many ways that you could just shut this down. This happened like 3 or 4 times. So, and Ursula's just joined us. Hello and welcome. 3 of us ladies here, having a lovely time. But what I was saying, the topic today is really around, your personal brand and using your own name. And my friend, you guys might know, still can't hear you, Mike. But my friend Joel came over to borrow some speakers from me for an event he was doing, and he ran into like the most narcissistic thing you could ever run into. Is I had just finished my podcast, and it was playing in the background. And on one screen, I had my like headshot that I was working on. On the other screen, it was my folder with all my headshots. So it was like, and then all my like blog and all these things were open because I was working on it all. And it just looked like the most narcissistic event you can ever walk into. So yeah, so that was
a little self-promotion isn't so bad.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Okay, Mike, I'll see when you get back, man. You'll figure it out. You look great, though.
Beautiful.
So when so we should get going. So today we want to talk about just personal branding and how you're using your own brand for your business. Should you use your name? I know Jason asked about that, and how can we what's the difference between using your name and not using your name? And so that was something that I wrestled with. So maybe I'll throw it to you, Nicole, and you can maybe chat about what your thoughts are around that.
Well, it's definitely a little bit difficult to determine whether you want to use your name or not. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to use my name because nobody can say it. And
yeah.
So, and that's where I felt like I needed a business name. Joe Girard is a little bit easier to say, and I know that you use your name, but you also have your company name. And at what point do you promote yourself as yourself, or do you promote yourself as your business? And I find that especially hard in the social media world because you might have a reputation from where you're at. And when you start your own business, people don't know you as your business. People know you as you. And you really have to leverage your reputation as you to start building that brand for your business. So I think in the beginning, it's especially important to use the reputation you've built, leverage your networks, leverage all of that's associated with your name in order to funnel people to your brand and start building that identity as a separate, as your company.
Yeah, for sure. It's, you're bang on. And the one thing is that keeps coming back is when I first started mine, like when I started at joegirard.ca, it was because I had read something about you should always have your own URL. And it was like years ago. And I was like, oh, cool. I have my own, like now it's my name as a website. And I never thought much of it. And then when I started to actually run my business, I was like, oh man, like, is this helping me or hurting me? Like honestly, is it egotistical to use your own name for your business? And to be honest, unless you have a really already powerful name, it's really not necessary, because what you should be doing when you're thinking about starting a business is more important to be like, how are you helping people? Like, who's this for? What is it going to help them do? And so like just being like for my joegerard.ca, it doesn't help anybody. It just is, it's kind of what's happened. And that's where a lot of, I got somebody that wants to get in. I got to send them a different link here. Copy and we switched. Boom. So, so with my name, what ended up happening was it just sort of evolved that way. And then when I wanted to like go back and start a different business name, when I registered my Change Grow Achieve brand, I had already had this following in this brand and this thing that I was like, well, now I can't really dump it. But I look at, like a brand like Social Triggers and Derek Halpern, who's there. He's done awesome for building his brand as, he's Derek Halpern of Social Triggers. And so when you go and I'm a member of Social Triggers or I'm subscribing to his program, it's always, like any sub brands that he has are subsidiaries of Social Triggers, but everybody knows it's him. It's just his thing. It's his show. And so I think, that's what's most important is who's your market, who's it for, what are you trying to help them out with? And so, that's what I've been trying to wrestle with mine. So I've kept my own personal brand and I've kept my business brand, and they run and they do different things. And so, it works and it doesn't work. If I was going to start it over again, I probably would have started with one brand that wasn't just my name. Luckily for me that, joegerard.com is world's greatest salesman. So I get lots of really just kick-ass SEO juice, right? So
yeah. And part of that is the stickiness too. And does your name represent what you do, or are you able to use that to get out there and differentiate yourself in the kind of business you're in? And so you really have to take consideration into how your name is going to be used, how you're going to use your brand as a personal, if it's going to be personal on your name. And then where's that line for people who are searching for you and seeing personal stuff about you? Like at what point do you have any kind of personal life that you don't let your clients in on? And so
Shady's back.
Wow, you are.
I styled my hair while I was away.
Oh, you look good. Is that so? Your microphone worked, but you just decided, you know what? My hair wasn't perfect.
I wanted it to be one dimension, like just kind of off.
That microphone does not need to be in your mouth.
Off to the side a little bit. I wanted it off.
That's awesome.
What I was gonna say is if anybody's just sort of stumbling in on this and it's like once it's up on YouTube, it is the day before Halloween when we recorded this. So don't think that these are like, we're talking personal branding. These aren't our brands. Yeah. I'm just a sexy Viking, right?
Definitely, this is not my brand.
This is your brand. I know Jason has joined us. Is Jason out there? He's out there, man. Jason, jump on, man. Jump in the seat. I want you were the one that asked me the question about using your name, and you texted me, and he texted me this like long question about should I use my name or business and this, and he's like, what do you think about that? I'm like, I think this is way too big of a thing to talk about through a text message. And so I told him jump on the blab if you can here. If not, we're gonna keep on this conversation. If you want to style your hair, put on a costume, J Money, go for it, brother. But yeah, so just coming back to it is, Mike, what is your thought? I mean, you've got a funny one because when I first met you, you're Mike Bunker, and then you have Michael Zellen is your business name, and I was like, wait, who's the guy? Who does he work for? Maybe talk about that journey that you're on.
Yeah, so basically, my middle name is Zellen, and so I was looking for some type when I was thinking about like what am I going to call my business. I was like, okay, I don't want to go by my name. Just because maybe one day I'm going to make it like more into an agency. Yeah. And so that's why I wanted to have like a name. And then I was like a company name. And then I was thinking like, okay, well, what should I call it? And then, and I still wanted it personal and it meant something. So then I knew that nobody's going to have the name Zellen. I mean, it's just, nobody has it. And so then I went with Michael Zellen. But I can see how it can be confusing because some people will say, "Who's Michael? Who's Zellen? And who's that?" And
Mike's work
because yeah, exactly. And but that's and it does confuse some people. And then sometimes people, some companies will say, "We just want to hire you as Mike Bunker and not as Michael Zellen." And it's just funny how like some companies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter as long as you hire me.
Yeah. Well, I know there was a little bit of a disconnect when I first went and saw you. I didn't know if it was still your company or if you were working for someone else, because I was introduced to you as Mike Bunker. But is that something that you come across very often, or is that pretty hit and miss and you're pretty consistent with people being familiar with your brand?
Actually, it's the funny thing is it's only been you two. It's like the island people.
I love it. We pay attention, man. We pay attention.
Yeah, you guys are detail oriented.
Like personal brand. Look how good you look in that picture, Jason.
Thanks.
What's going on, man? Welcome to the lab.
I didn't have any cool hair to bring in. Sorry.
You look dynamite, brother.
Yeah.
Here's a hat for you.
That's perfect.
You can put that hat on.
Yeah, if this was, remember Google Hangouts, you can like put clothes on people and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll jump in you for a sec. I was just going to say one of the things that sort of came to me when we were talking is when you build, like, say from a business standpoint, when you're building a website, you only have like certain amount of real estate on that website in your URL and in your tagline. And if you waste it with your name, like I do, like it says Joe Girard, and then I got to explain what it is. So now when you have like a business name and a tagline, you get lots of opportunity for people to connect. And if your business name can connect with them, that's why I like the idea of like social triggers is good, because then it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. What is it about? Then it takes it deeper. So we ask like the what, why, what do you do, that kind of stuff. So you got an opportunity there. But on the flip side is you've got somebody like a Marie Forleo who's got a really strong personal brand in her name, but she's built that. And so, it's really just like how you're serving your customers. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. If you're just starting out and you don't really have a name for a brand, build a business, right? And for me, I know like my Change Grow Achieve brand is that came to me one night. I was just looking for URLs. I was putting all these like combinations of words together because every domain in the world has been taken.
Yeah.
And so then I put this together and I was like, okay. And so these like 3-word combos started to come to me. And what that did is I thought, man, you know what? This allows me to scale that, because then it takes the focus off of me. And when I started to get more larger clients, they didn't want to necessarily hire just like some guy. They wanted to hire a company to provide services. So now I bid on like way larger projects, because it's like we're doing business with a company, not some dude in a Viking hat. So, right? So it just really depends on your market, what you're doing. I love the idea of personal branding. I think there's so much you can do, but it doesn't necessarily need to be the name of your business. And that's kind of the push and pull. I think once you create a brand, then, always register that URL and you're going to make a decision, right? So, Jason, I'm going to kick it over to you, because you've got lots of different brands going on, lots of projects, lots of cool stuff. Maybe tell people what you're up to, what you're working on, and what sort of your thought process is right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the main reason why I brought that question to you in the first place is two people that I really admire are Gary Vaynerchuk, who's just killing it in social media, and he loves just the personal brand, and he writes a lot about that. So that's why I really wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny about like Gary? I just actually posted about on my blog today. I put a video that he did on the overnight success, and just like he's like, some people email him and say, Gary, I think I talked last week about this, and people are saying, hey, I've been doing my blog for 6 months, 9 months, and it's really not working. Should I give up? And he's like, I love Gary's style, because he's just like, F this, F that. Like you're out of your mind. If you think it's overnight, there is no overnight success. And he in the background he's got every episode of his like Wine TV, Wine Library thing playing like every second up to like 600, 700 episodes. And so he didn't start as like Gary Vaynerchuk. He started by providing a service, by providing this thing on wine. People fell in love with it, but they fell in love with him as a brand, which allowed him then to scale his personal brand. Exactly. He didn't start by saying, hey, look at me, look at what a rock star I am. And that's where I think that, that's where people want it. They see people doing celebrity guru status kind of things, and they say, well, that's maybe what I should do. They didn't do that by, starting with their name and building that up. Right.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I really like it is because it allows you to be more authentic and connect better with your customers.
Yeah.
You're more of a personality rather than a faceless brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I find is that like when I go to a company's website that is, it's got a company name, I want to see people. I want to make it like I want to see contact information and real humans, and I don't want to just see a form that you fill out. Totally. I want it more personal. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you do have the company name, your personal brand is still a part of your overall branding, because that's how people see you and the content that you're creating and how you talk to people and how you just are in the present when you're networking, stuff like that. All of that ties back into your personal brand too, and how you operate your business. Right? No matter what I'm doing, I'm still Nicole, but I'm running my business, and people will know that it's Chatterbacks. Yeah. And if I make, depending on how I act in front of people, that will still make a difference in how people see my business. Mm-hmm. So your personal brand is still relative to your company brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you get your name, like Chatterbacks? Where does that come from?
It came from the phonetic spelling of Chatterbox, which is my sister's favorite lipstick.
Oh, okay.
So that was the story, man.
Yeah, so Chatterbacks. I liked the fact that it would make people think, and it would be like, oh, how do you say that? And which is kind of funny because I'm used to that with my last name being Coulurier. And so it kind of still kept to that whole point of that personal touch, but still tied in the concept of, I want people to be inquisitive and ask me about where I come from and what I've done and how I ended up to where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was German actually with the umlaut.
Yeah.
I know when I first met you, I was like, okay, I can't say your name. I can't say your business. I was like, what do you do? Like, what is going on? You know, what's funny though is like in terms of like networking, and I just look ridiculous in this hat, but in networking and going out and talking to people, you know, your brand. Yeah, I think like, you got us all here. You know what? One of these things is not like the other, Jason. So like, together, buddy. But in terms of you know, personal branding for me is, you know, like I remember like doing some networking stuff a little while ago. I was saying, like you go out and you wear these like stupid name tags that says, you know, Joe, and I put my business name, and people are like, oh, okay. And they look at you and they decide, do I like this person or not? Mm-hmm. And they're like, but what is your business? And then you get into this, that always that crappy, like, what do you do conversation. Then I tried other ways where it's just like Joe, and they're like, hey, Joe. And then you get into conversation. So like nothing really sort of preemptively talks. And then sometimes I just do like Joe sales coach or Joe sales guy or Joe Girard. And so then people go, oh, I've heard of you or stuff like that. And it really, what it is whatever your brand, your reputation is, or whatever you want people to like feel about your brand, that's what it should be. And so, you know, and it's going back to what you're saying, Jason, it's just that authenticity piece is that the more you do your stuff, as long as you're consistent, that's the big thing is I see some people, you know, there's that we talk about that weirdness factor and that, you know, that inauthentic thing where it's like, you know, sometimes I'm like this, sometimes I'm like that. And you see people that, you know, say, oh, this is my business. And then you find them on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, and they're kind of douchebags. And you're like, well, what's the real brand, right? Because the brand is what people perceive you as, whether it's your company or whether it's yourself. Yeah. And so, you know, that's where you got to draw that line of, you know, what am I trying to do? Who am I trying to help? And what's my brand going to do for them? Whether it's your name or whether it's like some weird phonetic spelling of a lipstick, right? So
that rhymes with hollerback girl.
Hollarbacks. Yeah. No hitting on her. Yeah.
Last week. Yeah.
Oh my God. So I got into a really, we'll maybe touch on that. We got into a really good conversation right after that. My friend, he's doing this really cool promotion, on, like sexual exploitation and all these things in the sex trafficking industry. And we got into this thing about, objectivity and sexuality in business and like what happened. And so last week, if anybody wasn't here, there was a guy that joined on the comment section. It was like flirting with Nicole. He's like, oh, you're so gorgeous. And she was super cool about it, being like, oh, you know, thank you. This is nice. And he was like, and then he was like, you know, he's like smiley face, like winky face, probably some dirty emoticon. I couldn't see what it was. And then we were like, and then he's like, your eyes, she's talking about her business and like what she does, how she helps her customers. And he just writes, your eyes are so beautiful. So like I wrote like, hey man, this isn't Tinder, slow down. And he just kept going. So we had to delete him and block him. And so we talked afterwards. I'm like, what's that like? And so, you know, I equated it to like going to a networking event. Some guy's just staring at your boobs while you're trying to tell him your business. And like, I don't get that as a guy as much, you know, I hope not. Right. But maybe just talk about that for a second, Nicole. Like what's that like? You know, because That doesn't happen to the guys as much. And it's like you're talking about branding, like you have to get past this weird sexual tension that guys are idiots. So like look at Mike's hair, for example.
It's just awkward, right? And it's like, well, how do you respond? I don't want to be rude, because it's like, okay, well, thank you, but at what point are you going to cross that line and say, okay, that's enough? Because you don't really want to put somebody out, call them out, and embarrass them in front of a bunch of people either, because who knows how they're going to turn that story around on you. So the first part one is that it's awkward because you're not sure how to respond, and two is, who are they going to talk to if you do call them out and make them feel bad or make them feel like they've done something wrong, because you still have your reputation to worry about as well. Mm-hmm. And of course it can get spun the other way. You don't know who they're talking to or what they're saying. So it's funny because I have a friend who works in the financial industry and she's an advisor, and she was telling me that she just went to 2 meetings where the guys thought they were dates. And I thought, okay, when in those conversations, and what are you talking about that would actually make somebody think that it's a date versus, hey, we're talking about business and I'm going to go over your financial plan, or with me, it's, we're going to go over your business, with your business, what channels you're on for social media, what kind of goals you want to achieve. At what point am I supposed to realize that, hey, this guy's actually only working with me because he wants a date, versus, hey, that guy actually wants to work with me because he thinks I can do some awesome stuff for his business. Mm-hmm. Because it never actually comes out verbally. It's always, I think, a kind of, you just expect that they know you're talking about business. So it's...
Is that a screening process then? Or like you could like to see how interested they are? Like how, could you filter that out? Not the sexual thing, but like how serious they are. And, you ask them questions that are a little bit, like to figure out how serious they are.
Yeah. And for me, I've never felt like I've gone to a meeting and had anybody think it's a date. And that's why it was interesting.
Yeah, that's really weird.
But at the same time, that's why a lot of people want to meet in public as well. Yeah. Like, you don't invite people to your office necessarily if you don't know them very well. And it's a little bit touchier, I think, from a female perspective, especially with, the lady who called out guys on LinkedIn for hitting on her and saying this is a professional network. Well, that hit the media, and she became kind of, was she a bad person or a good person? Because now she's this tattletale who doesn't like that guys like her. Like, oh no, guys like you. That should be a bad thing. And but at the same time, she's saying from her point of view, it's, this isn't why I'm on here, and I want to be respected as a professional. Mm-hmm.
I think from my perspective is there's the thing is human nature. There's always going to be some element of sexuality in everything we do, especially when there's good looking people, right? There's just like, that's what's going on. And I think as long as, nobody, from a guy or a woman, nobody's, feeling put in an awkward position or feeling like, they're in danger, then I think it's not a bad thing inherently. But when somebody's like, hey, what that was, I don't like that. And then you say, don't get offended. That's where I think it crosses the line. So if somebody does something and you say, hey, that's not cool. They say, hey, I wasn't meaning anything, and they can apologize. I think that's what I was saying about that guy last week. If he comes on and we say, hey, this is not Tinder, and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any offense, then you keep hanging out. It's just like if somebody walked into your group you're at an event and somebody walks in and kind of says something off color, like whether it's racist or sexist or just stupid, and you say, hey, that doesn't fly, and they say sorry, you get to still hang out. I think that's just decent.
Well, owning it, right?
Yeah, just own it. Be like, my bad, right? Who cares? And so then you can go through that, and then if you keep doing that, then that's just a stupid behavior you just can't unlearn. But if you learn from that stuff, I think that's how you evolve, and that's, we can tie that back into branding about, are we constantly building those feedback loops in everything that we're doing to make sure that, that we're not just saying things and people are just staring at you blankly, right? So, hey, Jason, I want to throw back to Jason for a sec. I wanted to know, you asked me that question. I want to know sort of why. What are you wrestling with right now that you're trying to decide between? Because you're trying to go into a new sort of part of your business. You've had some businesses, some, projects that you've put together that have been successful, but now you're looking, okay, what's the next evolution? And you're kind of weighing what you want to do with it. So maybe talk to us about that thought process. We can sort of bounce some ideas around it.
Yeah, sure. Just a brief history of what I have done is I run White Lotus DJ in Victoria. Mm-hmm. And why I did have a company brand is because when I started it, I was 20 years old and I wanted to have that credibility. Yeah. People don't really want to hire a DJ if they think they're only 20 years old. They want to have some experience. So that's why I did the company brand, and that had a lot of success. But why I'm really considering the personal brand is one thing that Gary has said is that throughout his life, he can change businesses. I mean, he started with his wine business, then moved to the social media, but he's always going to be Gary Vaynerchuk. Mm-hmm. And he's a dynamic person. His thoughts, opinions, lifestyle is always going to change, and people accept that. Whereas companies are more static and they don't really have that dynamic ability. Mm-hmm. So that's the benefit of having a personal brand where 10 years from now, people can still follow me on Twitter and I can still take advantage of that.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you hoping to do then? Like if you say you launch your personal brand, what is that brand for?
Oh, so the next project that I'm going into is I'm transitioning out of the DJ and going into digital marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to use your name then as like, as your company name, or are you looking to brand you as a specialist? What are you thinking?
Can you tell me more about the difference between those two?
No. Sure. The question is, I mean, initially my first thing is if you're going to do like branding, like digital marketing strategist, that kind of stuff, if I'm a company that's going to hire, I'm probably not, like unless you have like if people are all over running around saying, hey, you got to hire this guy or this brand, like when I'm going to put the Jason stamp on my digital marketing so that it's like, wow, this guy's like, it's got cachet for the company. If your name doesn't bring cachet for the company, it really doesn't matter if it's the name of the brand, right? So what I would say is my personal opinion is to build your company to make some kind of sense or be meaningful for the companies that you want to hire you. So think about that, if like your target market, what would they be able to say, oh, we're going to hire, is it this guy or this company? And if you want to scale a company, then it's probably better not to use your name, right? So if you're thinking of building an organization, even a small team, it's also hard if you join a team to be like, oh, who do you like? Where do you work? And they're like, oh, I work at Jason.
That's
pretty cool though. That's pretty cool.
That was the same thing for me. Like when I work at, where do you work? I work at Michael Zellen. That was one of the reasons why I did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike, do you have people who are working for you? Who just more like a subcontractor basis?
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because when you build a team, then those become your brand ambassadors as well, right? So they have to be just as comfortable saying your business name as they are saying their own.
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's why on my Change, Grow, Achieve business is when I started to map that out, I wanted to build it more as a consultancy rather than just like me as some dude saying a bunch of stuff, right? And so I still have my Joe Girard brand where that is what I do. It's just my sort of platform to say a bunch of things. I have coaching through there, but every business that I do is through my Change, Grow, Achieve. And now as I bring people on that are going to be like sales reps, I've got other consultants, I've got I've got a curriculum designer. They can now go out and say, oh, as part of what we do at Change, Grow, Achieve, it's so much easier than as part of what we do at Joe Girard. They're like, and then they got to explain themselves. That puts them in a weird place, right? So unless you're going to just be you forever, just running your stuff and you want to keep it that, like you can't scale that. That's my idea. Unless you say, like the Jason Creative Agency, like you could do all that kind of stuff. But my gut reaction is it's not necessary. But if you want to put your name on it that way, you'd want to make it more of an agency or design house or whatever you're going to call it. Make it so that it's bigger than just you, so that you give yourself the potential to scale it. Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna jump off. And
You're so loud when it's in your mouth.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna jump off. And I'm gonna get on there. I'm gonna Jets is gonna jump on the call, but I'm still here. Okay. Sorry about that. I was talking with a girl today, and she couldn't hear me, and I had to put it really close to my mouth, and I think it was just a bad habit from that. So I'm going to be around. I'll be in the background listening. Okay.
Cool.
But just Jets is coming.
Just Jets, yeah. Cool, man. So Just Jets requests to join, and keep it clean, and you can be as weird as you want with costumes, and just don't be weird.
And whiskey not included.
Whiskey not. If you want whiskey, let's go. I love it. I love new people. Just what's going on, man?
I was
Dallas,
hoping
Texas.
for some whiskey. No, not really.
What's going on, man?
Well, nothing. I'm actually very interested on this topic because I'm kind of like in the process to separate myself from my startup company and my real life. I don't know. It's kind of difficult for me right now to split it since it's like so fun together. And
Okay.
I don't know. I appreciate any comments on that. So
For sure, man. Tell us about your business. What have you been doing? How long you been doing it? What's your market? Give us the rundown.
well, right now, I'm just starting my how would I say it? Well, what I want to is to get into apparel design and hats, for example, and shoes and shirts. And,
Okay.
But I was having problems finding the capital to found that, and I didn't have the how do you say it, like the people to do it. I had. So I started with something more simple, that it was like getting some of my designs into a gallery and try to start from there with that capital into put that capital into the other one, the apparel line.
Okay.
For production?
Yeah.
So are you thinking that then you're wanting to possibly run it as your own business name, like for your name? What's your name, first of all?
Well, my name is Jose Sontlimaxi Lopez. So actually, Jets, it's like a contraction of my first name and last name.
Okay.
Ah!
See, that's cool. Yeah, no, I like that because then it's got a story, right? If your business has a story, but I'm pretty sure like what you just said, we probably couldn't spell or say.
Yeah,
more
it's
than once.
yeah, it's like 13 letters, and it's like so complicated that people say like, what did you just say? So Jets is easy to remind and to pronounce, and it also has a background story because Jets, as far as I know, it's very close to Jets in German, which means now. So I thought it was pretty cool.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's super cool, man. Like and I think that right there in itself is its own story, right? So if somebody asks you, so like if they say, what do you do? You say, I own Jets. It's an apparel company. They say, well, what's Jets? And you say, well, it's actually my name. And you can tell them I'm the founder and this is how it stands because my name is, say your name again.
Jose Sontlimaxi Lopez.
I love it. And then they say, what? And you say, well, that's Jets.
Yeah.
Which is cool, right?
And that'll make it stick in people's head too.
Yeah.
They'll remember that.
Okay.
They remember Jose the Lopez. They'll remember that part.
Yeah. The other one, it's just totally blurry in the middle.
But that's cool. That's cool. It gives you a story. So, what's your question then here? Are you trying to figure out sort of how to brand this thing or what direction to take it? Sort of throw a specific question here.
Yeah. Like my main difficulty right now is to handle my Facebook account. I don't know like how to like having two accounts, one for my company, like, and just post like company or business wise things there, and then just my personal in the other one, or I don't know how to do it.
Oh, okay. Nicole, do you mind? Nicole is the social media queen, so maybe she can answer this while I figure out. I'm going to step out of the screen and take my sweater off. I'm dying from that helmet.
Yeah, you look like you're sweating there. Well, so you have your personal Facebook page and then your company Facebook page, if that's right?
Yeah.
So you can leverage your personal page to help push people to your business page, but because you want to actually be known for your business for a certain thing, what are those values that you carry in your business? What are people getting out of, being a part of your business, seeing what you're doing? Of course, if you're out in the going to other stores, you see other stuff you like, you can take pictures or Instagram, all those other things. That's going to be stuff that you can put on your company page and then share onto your personal page. But then there's that line of family and friends that you don't want to be shoving your business down their throats all the time, because they want to support you as it is. And so you just want to give them a little bit and let them support you, because they're probably all going to be following your business page anyways. So you don't want to take two business pages or 2 pages and use both of those to target the same people. You're going to have different strategies for each page, while your personal page is definitely going to be helping to funnel some of those people that you become friends with and that you meet to your business page. Your business page is going to have a totally different focus on what kind of stuff that you're sharing, on what kind of people you're going to want to attract and bring to that page. And it's definitely, you know, while you can use both of them, you have to take a look objectively at what kind of messaging you want each page to actually say.
Yeah, I'm giving Nicole props. If you see on the bottom of her screen, you give her props. The hands, just click on the hands. That's how it works. I'll give you props too. Oh baby, look at you.
Like what is that for? I don't know.
It doesn't account. It doesn't do anything. Well, Blab is relatively new. This is our 3rd week that we've been doing it. Yeah. So here's you know what? I'll throw it at you. Actually, I did a blog post today on just, you know, there's all sorts of ways that you can overthink things and really overcomplicate it. The trick is just like dive in and get something done. What I was writing about today was more along the lines of, you know, all this crap that I've been postponing, like my podcast and doing like my Whiskey Fridays. And, you know, I've been building a shop forever in the back end of my site and all blah, blah, blah. There's like 10 projects that have been just like eating me inside. And I'm like, oh, and then you start to feel guilty. And we get to what's called this imposter syndrome, where we just never get it done because we're afraid that somebody's going to say that's not good enough. And so we're always sort of hanging out, not pushing things through. And so the big shift for me over the last number of years was just to say, screw it, just get shit done and get it to market and test it. So the answer is always like, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is until you test what you're going to test in the market and you start to ask people for feedback. Once you start getting feedback, then you're going to start to see what's happened. But if you wait until you think it's perfect, it never goes out, right? Like you just never finished it. And then you're like, and you start, then one more idea comes in and then 4 other people say, well, you know what you should do? And then you just start taking more and more notes and you never have anything. And then you're like, maybe I should just get a job, right?
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening. So, you know, from the standpoint of social media, you know, I have, you know, my personal social media and I've got lots of clients that add me on Facebook. The trick is I just don't want to have anything public that like anything online that I would be embarrassed to share. Right. So if I have friends that do stupid things on my Facebook page, I give them like the same thing as what we were talking about earlier, Nicole, is I give them one chance. I say, hey, that's not the online with me is not the place where you can be stupid. Like we can go have a whiskey off camera and talk about whatever you want to talk about. But my brand, my personal brand and my professional brand are so closely intertwined that I'm not going to risk, you know, because you see all these horror stories. I saw one where a woman got a job at a daycare the other day and posted this like stupid comment about, oh, I got this new job at a daycare. It's too bad I don't like kids. Ha, ha, ha.
Oh, okay.
And then the company found out and they fired her before she started. But she was like, oh, I was just joking. But they don't know. Right? You just never know who's looking. And so what's the point of risking it? So whatever you're going to do, personal, professional brand, if you are going to move into the realm of having a brand, make sure that all of your stuff is in alignment with what you're trying to be so that you don't have to fake one way and be real the other. So if you're super like down to earth and authentic and cool here, but then try and fake super high level professional and those aren't aligned, you're going to feel like split personality. So whatever you want to do, just do it. Because people will be attracted to your authentic, the most authentic version of you. So you don't have to try and be somebody you're not, right? And so from having Facebook, I would say have your own personal Facebook like account where you talk to your friends and do stuff, but try not to let it go where you look like, you know, like too like not professional if you have a brand, and then have a page for your business so people know you've got a business page, share it with them, post stuff about your business on your business page. If you want to send people over there, put it on your private one and say, hey guys, I've got some cool stuff going on. Check out my page.
Check it out. Yeah.
Right. But you're not, like I always say, your Facebook friends are not your customers. And if you look at like Malcolm Gladwell Tipping Point, and you look at things like outliers, when you have relationships and you're trying to sell to the people that are like you're closest to you, they all kind of have already a preconceived idea of who you are and how they want to interact with you. So if you try and move them into a business relationship, it's too much of a switch. They go, I don't know. But what you're looking for is the people that are the outliers of their relationships, but even more, the outliers of those relationships, so that you want to connect with people you've never met before. Because now you get to establish a brand new relationship. You get to be whoever you want to be. So if you need to change your brand, your professional and personal image, it's much easier to do it with people you've never met, because they're going to take what you're saying at face value, and it's just up to you to prove them wrong. So the question of promoting to your Facebook friends, it's really irrelevant. If they buy from you or not, you don't give a shit, right? You promote your business and you try and find customers that are out there, because there's no shortage of people that'll buy what you have. Especially you got a cool name like Jose la 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 la.
I need the sombrero though.
Like just right away, man. You seem like a fun guy. So make your brand fun, right? Don't make your brand like you're doing cool. Apparel's fun, right? Just be real and go and do cool shit, and you celebrate that online, and that's how you want to build it. But if you try and overthink it, it never gets done, and then you start second guessing everything you're doing. So that's kind of my long ranty answer to it, right?
It's good.
It's
really good. Yeah, and I mean, and the best part about social media is it's like such an easy way to test. And you can do so much testing with what kind of content you're sharing, and especially with apparel, like Joe said, because it's so fun. You can have you can do quizzes, or you can do, take pictures of new trends, and there's always stuff happening in the fashion world, and people love that stuff. And then of course, when you're taking pictures in a store with something that you like, then that's showing a little bit of transparency and humanization of your brand too. So people are seeing that what you're into, and they're going to connect with you a little bit more on that emotional level as well. And so just play around and test it, and you get the insights on your Facebook page as to what people are engaging with. Keep note of that good stuff, and then keep on working that.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. How often do you guys do this live talks?
Dude, I started this. What's funny about this is you talk about branding. We do it every week now. This is the third time we've done it, and I just actually I'm gonna I'll post this in the chat as well. I've just been like goofing around, like I talk about like get things done. We started this like 3 weeks ago. And it was an idea I had 3 years ago, where I wanted to do like a YouTube series where I just had a whiskey and like was way more casual and just chatted about business and stuff, and I could just wear and do whatever I want. Like Nicole and I talked, she's like, "What are you gonna wear?" I'm like, "I don't care, like a Viking hat." Like this is where the conversation is, of just being like super normal, like I would chat with a friend. And so we started this like 3 weeks ago because I found Blab. And I was like, man, this is cool. This is exactly the forum, because now at the end, I'm uploading it to YouTube. I'll create some branding around it. But other than that, it's just getting on here and just having some fun, talking about some stuff. And so really there's, when we're looking at branding like this is the forum where I could be super normal and just swear and just say whatever I want because we're just casual. But it's different than, structuring a webinar, because I do like highly complex corporate training and like big funnels and all that stuff. And I have fun doing that. I do like, polished blog, all that stuff. That's all part of the marketing. But this kind of stuff is like, I want to be able to connect with people and just be real, right? Just say stuff, have some whiskey, and help some people solve some problems. And I feel like it's not so much, like that we overthought it, but the goal is to be here this time next year, right? The goal is just to keep being here next week, next month, next year, and it will grow. You don't know when it's going to hit. Going back to like Gary Vaynerchuk, he never knew when it was going to hit and when he was going to hit it big, and he wasn't willing to give it up, right? And that's the same. Whatever you're going to put together, do a little bit every single day. Don't worry about overthinking and making it perfect and launching it. We hear all these product launches. When people have unlimited time and resources, product launches work really, really well. But if you're going to do something, just do something every single day. Crank it out. Go and talk to people. Be consistent, and don't move away from what you're trying to build for anybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Drinking whiskey.
Sorry, I was reading a little bit of your page, Joe.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So what are some of your goals here? How can we help you? Do you have a website that you've got, or some promo that we can throw at you?
A website together.
Throw it in the comments there. We'll take a look.
Let's see.
Yeah, and Andy, if you haven't left yet, go on to the link on the Whiskey Friday thing. I just created a sign up page. You can I'll be sending just a weekly email out, letting people know when we're doing it, so that it's then we can start to build this thing and have some fun. And if you have questions that you want to ask or topics, just post just email back. I haven't created any of the email templates, so I just put it up today. It's just having fun. So yeah, cool. Just Jets.
Yep.
Patricia, welcome to the call. Let's go here. Cool. I like that I can talk to people and like they're in the comments and they can hear. I'm just like, I feel like I'm talking to myself, but they're there. So Andy, thanks for the reply there, brother.
And you're just on Facebook too?
Graphic artist. You're solid here. This is good stuff, man.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, man.
So do you do any of the pop-up stores?
I tried once, but they didn't like me.
I didn't like you.
Yeah. I like you.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
It was like...
No, I'm looking at your website, man. So
tried to reach them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, cool. Send us your stuff." And I was like, "Okay, here it is." And they were like, "Silence." Like,
yeah.
So, find someone else.
Yeah.
Find someone else, right? Yeah.
Kevin, what's going on? Welcome. Just don't be weird and swear and be creepy. I don't know. I haven't set the rules. Hey, look, there's the top of your head. What's going on, man?
Where are you from?
Where are we from?
Yeah.
Well, I'm from, Nicole and I are both from Victoria, British Columbia, and Canada. And Just Jets, Jose Lopez is in Dallas, Texas, y'all. Mike's in Montreal, y'all.
Well, actually, I moved here from Chicago, so I'm more kind of the guy that says you guys. And people stares at me like, what did you just said? And I'm, you guys?
Yeah.
No, that's not the way we do it here.
Yeah.
So where are you from again? I missed it because the blab keeps cutting me out.
Dallas, Texas. Just Jets from Dallas, Texas. Yeah.
I'm from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. So is Nicole.
Yeah.
And we've got people from all over the place.
Okay, so Nicole, so what do you do, Nicole?
I do online consulting.
Online consulting for what company do you do?
For Chatterbox Marketing, and then I work with clients all the way from Victoria to Calgary.
Oh, that's awesome! But so do you know anybody that has a disability or visual impairment?
Disability, yeah. We actually, Joe and I both go to a networking event where there is a guy who runs his own business where he's in a wheelchair, and his business is actually helping other businesses create easily accessible office space and restaurants and venues, because he's finding that there just isn't the accessibility is a huge.
And I'm actually, there's a group I want you to network, and it's a good group on Facebook, and I highly encourage if you're trying to network. It's called Disabled Live Streamers, and there's some people who, there's one guy, his name is Jamie Mesner, and he has cerebral palsy, and he's doing his own podcast and trying to network other people to try to, like, he does his most.
What are they called? Kevin, man, what's it called? Do we have a link? I'll
right
find
here,
a link.
guys, go check. Please go join it. You and Nicole.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay,
cool, man.
So once you
Disabled Live Streamers, this is cool. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
No, the guy that we worked with, Steve, his business is called Accessible Here, and that was, we looked at where we live. There's about 700,000 people with disabilities. And the goal is not so much to like guilt or shame businesses into being more accessible. It's about showcasing the fact that there's a huge market opportunity for people that have, that have needs, and that their family and their support systems and all of that kind of stuff to be able to tap into that market. Right.
Yeah.
And so that was really, it's more of creating understanding, creating awareness, and being able to create opportunity for people to do business with those that are differently able.
Yeah, and it's super cool. Really, he's out there and educating a ton of businesses, a ton of people about that need, and it's just really laid back and cool and trying to create a movement.
Yeah.
Kevin,
So
are you still
Kevin,
there?
I think your internet signal's not going too well. It's fine. Keep jumping in, jumping out. If it keeps happening, I'll just kick you out. You can go in the comments. That's no problem. But what we're talking about today, Just Jets, I love your hat, brother. So
Thank you.
what's your goal? I'm looking at your website here. You've got this apparel. What are you trying to do with this stuff? Where are you trying to get it out? What's your target market? Like, what's this thing? Like, your website's cool, but then I go there, I'm like, now what do I do? Is it how do I buy stuff from you? How do I promote it? What can I?
Yeah,
like,
since I don't have like the resources right now, like I don't have the vendors, and I don't have the I don't know how to,
Were you gonna do silk screening?
yeah, I'm deciding between silk screen or DTJ, direct to garment.
So if you want to run a business, like how would you be able to run a business for people that have visual impairment and completely blindness?
Well, it depends what your business is. What do you have a business that you're working on?
No,
or?
not right now. But like, I just want a disabled live streamers can be a group to promote awareness.
Yeah.
I
so
already
here's
followed it.
Yeah, Kevin. So here's the question for you: is it's not so much what you can't do from a disability standpoint, but what can you do? What's that superpower? What's your skill? And what problems can you solve?
Is to spread the awareness to people who are disabled to do whatever you want. Because I'm a musician and I like to spread the power of music.
Love it, brother.
And music is so powerful.
What kind of music? Like what do you instrument, singer,
Everything.
tap
Pop,
dancer?
Christian, hip hop, R&B, Latin, old school, dubstep, house, you name it.
You do all of
Wow.
Great.
that. That's sick. I love it.
Do you have a page?
What's
where
your
we
favorite
can-
genre of music, Nicole?
My favorite genre? Oh, I don't know. I like a little bit of everything.
Oh wow. So is this guy with a wheelchair, his other clients are blind or visually impaired?
Some of them. It's more what he's doing. It's not his clients don't have the disabilities. It's that he's going and talking to businesses and showing them that, if they make themselves more accessible, that they can tap into a market opportunity. So part of that is looking at the physical accessibility of the location, plus also creating awareness in the staff, especially like in, say, for hospitality or service industry, when they encounter somebody that has a disability,
because
there's a lack of understanding and empathy. And so they're kind of weird about it because they don't know what to do. And so by
that's
coaching
the
and
thing
training them
about
on that, then all of a sudden now to make a location more accessible, physically, emotionally, mentally, that they're welcoming. Now from people that have disabilities, they go, I feel safe and I like going to this place because they get it, right? It doesn't mean you're a different person. It just means that they have to understand you. And as a business, if you understand a market that has a niche, you get to win. I mean, that's from a marketing and branding standpoint,
that's
right?
True. That is true. So did you guys hit the join button?
The join button?
Go to the Facebook page.
Yeah.
I haven't yet. You're making me multitask.
Yep, that's what it is.
No, that's my goal is singular focus. I've got it on my other screen.
The one thing.
But I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna look. Focus on one thing, brother.
Because I followed you on Twitter, Nicole. You should follow me back. And Nicole, you could
Okay.
you could just go join it right now, and then
Guys, I think Mike wants to get back, so I think his perspective is more important.
Hey, you know what? It's always good to have somebody that is asking questions versus people just saying stuff, because then we can help you with things. So, if you want to jump out, but ask questions in here. And the goal, I would say, Jose, is if you want, reach out to me, man. And if you want us to help you promote what you're doing, let me know, man. Your site looks good. Your design is solid.
Yeah.
If we can help you push some stuff to market or sort of overcome some of those barriers, let me know, brother.
Yeah. How could I get in touch with you guys? I don't know.
Just grab me on Twitter here and send me a message and we'll connect.
Yeah, and then also I'll send you a message here. There's a guy and he's down in Florida. It's Cristobar Art, I believe is his name, and he's on Instagram. And he started out with graphic design and graffiti, and he's done the pop-up store and really started out from the ground level and done really well. So that might be somebody you want to connect with too, and just get some insight into how he got his business going.
Cool.
So Cool. So let's jump back into the sort of the main. I've got a few people that have joined. I've got Drissy and Richard. Just saying, welcome these guys. Let's go back into the beginning conversation, which is the title of this: is should you use your personal name for your business, or how do you leverage that personal brand for your business? Because I think that's some people that are going into it. They see these guru brands. They see these people that have been doing it, like the Marie Forleos and the Gary Vaynerchuks, and they say, I want to be like that and I want to do this. And I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I have my own brand. I just kind of stumbled into my own name because my namesake is like world's greatest salesman, and so I inherit all his SEO juice. But if you're starting your business, and I love, Jose, what you're doing, brother, which is using your name and creating a brand. Like you've contracted your name to create a brand, and that's fine. I remember I had friends when I was in high school, and they were they had a band, and people say, what's your band name? And it ended up their band name is called Maybe Generic. So like maybe, and then generic, and the logo is like the yellow old generic like food kind of company. And I said, how did you come up with that name? Somebody asked who their band was, and my friend's name was Josh. His other friend name was Eric, and the other guy was BJ. So he said, well, it's me, be generic. And so that's how the name started, right? So they created this band. It was Maybe Generic because somebody just messed up their name. So you never know how the name starts, but I'm a big proponent of, if you're going to build something that you want to scale, that you want to grow just past a hobby or a job for yourself, create a brand that can scale with you, that when you bring people on, it's something that they can hang their hat on. Bonk. Right? So that's what I would say, man. So, yeah. So, Mike, I don't know, Mike, you want to jump back in, or anybody wants to jump in? We've got some new people that have joined. Any of these guys, who else we got in this call? Let's jump in. Drissy, we've got Richard. I got Richard's doing some farming stuff. Jump in, man. We join the call and ask some questions about branding and personal goals. And that's kind of what we're talking about. We're probably going to go for another 10 minutes because we got started a bit late. We're just starting, so we know we're starting this Blab, this Whiskey Friday. I posted a link to it. So I'll throw that in there again after. We're going to be just creating this every week, creating this conversation where we're helping people. Yeah.
I have another question.
Sure.
So I kind of have I just had an experience that kind of changed my way of approaching things. Like I was just designing for myself and let designs run in the computer. And then I found a contest and I was like, okay, let's do it. And I won second place. How would you use that?
If you did some design and won second place?
Yeah, it's a fashion and textile contest. I don't want to I don't want to people to think that I'm rubbing in their faces or something.
No, man. Whatever you're doing, if you got to promote it, right? Like if you get recognized, you get testimonials, you do something cool, something kick ass, you got to celebrate it. Not in a way that's like, hey, look at how awesome I am. But I'm looking at your website. If you do something where you have about me, you also have recognition, or in the news, something where people say, other people have recognized what you're doing. And it's anytime we do anything these days, you're always looking for social proof. Yeah. You're always looking for testimonials. Have you ever sold one thing to one other person for at least $1 and they liked it? If so, and if you've ever won an award, if you've ever done anything where somebody's like, hey, that thing was cool or good or helped me, all I want to know is at least a couple people like what you've done. And I'll say, okay, maybe he's worth talking to. Right? That's what references, testimonials. That's what it is. But if you just wait for people to find it or Google it, it's never going to happen. Yeah. So, but it's also not saying, on your homepage to be like, I'm the best thing in the whole world. Look at how special and what a pretty flower I am. Yeah. You want to put on there, this is how I help. This is the impact I make. And then people believe your claim. And then all they're looking for is somewhere to validate what your claim is. Mm-hmm. So if you've won awards or you've done something worthwhile, put it somewhere where people say, oh, okay, so people like them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, nobody's going to promote you, but you really, especially in the beginning, you have to start getting comfortable and talking about yourself in a way that's genuine and authentic without being overly promotional, because you want to get the word out of who you are and what you do. Nobody else at this point is going to do that for you unless you're out telling them who you are and what you do. So if you have to sit in front of the mirror and practice talking to yourself, Joe's actually done a really good exercise with sitting down and recording yourself and doing your pitch to yourself on camera and get comfortable with it. And that was an awesome exercise. And I know it's just going to be a struggle at first, but the more you practice, the better you get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what we do, man. It's like, is anytime, like, I remember when I first started recording video for my site, and I'm loving this guy, Happy Dance Farm. If you want to jump in, man, join the seat. You sound like you're a rad dude. But when I first started doing video for my site, you know, I was recording this video, and my girlfriend, who's on the call here, she's up somewhere. She's just listening in. But she, you know, she would look at the video and she's like, man, you sound like one of those marketing douchebags. Like, who are you trying to be, right? Like, it just sounded like, I was like, hi, so here's what we're talking about today. Like, that's not how I talk. How I'm talking right now is how I talk. But it takes a long time to get comfortable talking into a camera, talking and being natural and being authentic, being able to wear a stupid Viking hat, just have some fun with what you're doing. It looks cool, man. And so that part of stuff, like, it doesn't just happen overnight. So like going back to Gary Vaynerchuk and all these brands, they worked at this stuff. And I've thrown probably 90% of the stuff out. And I even did like a podcast a couple weeks ago about being authentic, because I went back and listened to my podcast from like back in January, and I was talking about being authentic, and I just sounded inauthentic. So it's always a process. It's constantly evolving. And so you're never done. That's the thing. So whatever you're going to do, if you have an idea, just try it. I like that you have a website. Now go do something with it. Go talk to some people. Go ask some people for help. Yeah. Say, hey, promote this thing. I don't see how I can buy anything.
Yeah.
If I click here, like, what do I do? Make a buy now button. I buy something. Yeah. I don't know how this works.
Or
man, let me buy something. Why won't you let me buy anything?
Design corporate T-shirts. Say, hey, you guys doing a fun event like the Tough Mudder? Yeah. Let me design your team shirts.
Dude, so, I could connect you. We've got an event here that happens every year called Rifflandia. Mm-hmm. Your design is right in line with their stuff, and your website is solid. And so, if anybody doesn't know what we're referencing, I'll put this in the comment box here. Don't worry about your business.
Actually, today I have my first opening at a gallery here down in Dallas. So it's like like 5 of my designs got there, and let's see how, like, some testing, like you said. Like some feedback with real people right there. And thank you.
It's not all going to happen all at once, you know, and that's okay. And so you can't get down on yourself or give up because it's not all coming flooding in. You have to give it time. It's a step-by-step process. And the more you get out there and the more comfortable you get with who you are and what you're offering, the easier it's going to get, and the more you're just going to attract those customers.
So first thing that it's like kind of a bad thing. Well, I don't know. It's that my website needs some kind of about me that says what I have done in the past, and maybe a link to my social media. Probably.
Yeah. And let people know what you can do for them. What is your offer? Do you want to design, like I said, do some cool designs for some corporate events or team stuff? You know, connect with those companies on Facebook as well. Start following them and say, hey, you guys, I can do this for you if you know anyone interested. Totally, man.
Create like a work with me page or like services, and just then in there you can add your sort of about thing and say, I've won some awards. I do this. Here's what I'm passionate about. If we were to work together, here's some things I could help you with. Here's some problems I could solve. You know, my website looks badass. I could do something like that for you. Whatever it is that you're doing, just say this is the thing. Like, if you work with me, here's what the experience is like, rather than what I've done before. This is why people screw up resumes, why they screw up their LinkedIn, why they screw up their websites. Nobody cares who you are and what you've done. They care what you can do for them right now. So if you paint that picture and they all of a sudden can imagine what it would feel like to be able to work with you and see what that feeling would be like in the future. Now, all of a sudden they go, and you paint them, because I do sales coaching and training. The whole goal there is not to tell them what your services are, but to get them to start to see the cause and effect nature of what the problem is. Right. And we're going to welcome Amen DR. What's going on here? I love it. Got a new guest. Join in. For internet audio only. Cool. Who are we talking to?
I am terrorist.
Oh, I can't hear you very well.
What?
I can't hear you very well.
I am terrorist.
Oh, right on. Welcome to the call, man.
Yeah, I am from Iraq.
From Iraq. Right on. This is cool. We get to meet people all over the world.
Yeah.
Not just Dallas, y'all.
I want to kill cowboy.
You what? Sorry?
What?
You are Viking?
He wants to talk to the cowboy?
You are Viking?
Okay.
Oh. Something about your Viking hat?
My name's is Dash.
Hi, Dash.
Yeah, Dash.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Viking.
Viking.
Viking, yeah. Viking warrior.
Yeah, Viking here.
So, what do you mean by business?
Sorry?
Well, I think the main idea of the call is like try to figure it out if you want to use your real name or you have to you want to make your own brand to represent what you like to do, or like where are you going with your business, I guess.
Okay, so MNDR, I'm having a hard time hearing you, so I'm going to block you out here because it's giving me feedback here. And then if you have questions, throw them in the comment section. There we go. Sorry about that. I couldn't hear you very well.
No.
And maybe it's because the horns. I don't know. They're not volume enhancing. But
yeah,
I've got
intermission.
Yeah. So I've got Richard here is talking about. He's got some good points, man. Is that he's saying because he was mentioning, if you guys are reading the comments, he's had a number of businesses over the years that he's bought and sold, and he's done lots of stuff, and he's got a really cool ponytail supposedly. And shout out Richard, brother. And he's saying that when you've got an idea, and I think I'll expand on this. You got an idea, and you're helping people solve a problem. The more problems you can solve, the more specific your niche is, the more you actually make things happen for people. That brand starts to grow and develop. And at some point, you either want to keep going with that brand or move on. And I'm in the process right now of possibly buying a company. But I'm not buying a guy's name. I'm buying the company itself. And I can stand myself behind that brand, and my team can manage that brand. And it's really cool. But at some point, if you want to move on from that brand and it's just your name, it's really hard to sell that to somebody named Gilbert, right? Yeah. So that's what he was saying. So if your brand can stand on its own, then you can sell the brand. The brand can have a legacy. And, I see so many times different brands that they change hands. You never know who owns it, but the brand can continue to grow. If you're just an individual, the brand only stays with that individual. One of the target markets that I work with is business owners that have scaled their business to the point where they've been the ones doing all the selling. They've been doing all the promotion and action. And when they get to this point that they want to step out of that, it's really hard for them to scale because it's their own thing. So we have to get them out of their own way, bring on sales teams. We have to help them do that. And that ownership mentality, that sort of scarcity, that worriness isn't a word, but when they're starting to worry about how they can do that, that's how you scale. But it's really hard to scale when it's just your name. And so that's, for me personally, that's why I expanded and built my brand to be a business. So I never had to worry about how do I scale Joe, right? So whatever you're doing, like if you're doing Just Jets, you're doing this thing, I like your business name. It's cool. I think you can scale that. And if I'm, I'm some cool young chick that I want to do some kind of cool apparel design company, she could be like, I work for Just Jets. And they'd be like, what's that? And she can tell the story. Even though Jets is part of your name, that's something you can scale. But if it's like, I work for Jose.com, it's like, what is it?
And the worst part that sounds like
Jose, right?
That is like,
yeah,
not going to happen.
Yeah. So no, I like your brand's solid right now. You just have to tell people what it's for, because it doesn't right now. It doesn't make sense what it is. It says I'm a graphic artist, and so okay, so great, but it's not about what you are, who you are. It's like, what are you going to do for them, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's a great message for anybody with a business or with a website or Facebook page. Joe, is how are you actually going to help me? What problems do you solve? And that's one of the biggest things you see is everything's all about, well, I do this and I'm great because, and this is, why I'm so awesome. But it's like, okay, well, that's nice.
What can you do?
Yeah.
For us.
So how does that relate to my business?
Yeah, you have to connect on that level.
Yeah, exactly. Because people are looking for a solution. They're not necessarily looking to just make friends.
Totally. Yeah, and the days, you know, that I do a lot of work with, like the history of sales, and and happy. I keep saying Happy Dad's Farm. I'm trying to remember your name. Richard. Richard's always right, man. Like they just really don't care. Like the day, like when I do history of selling, the days of relationship selling is dead. You can't just go in and just start from a relationship and hope that, you know, the 3 martini lunch and over time. People don't have time to try and let you. If you had unlimited time, you could build great relationships and eventually sell to everybody. But in today's like crazy busy market, you have to lead with how you have insights, how you solve problems, this big idea that you're bringing to the table. So people go, hey, that's interesting. And your ability to quickly help them identify cause and effect and solve problems is what's going to earn you the relationship. And so if you try and start with this relationship, just be a nice guy, you go to business very quickly.
One thing that you were talking about is like probably you don't want to, reach out at your like inner circle of people. Maybe you want to reach out to the more like people that doesn't know you. It will be like a good starting point for that? Like, yeah.
Okay. That's a good. I'm going to throw back. I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to throw it to Nicole. What are your thoughts here? Because I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, immediately I was thinking that if you're trying to reach a different group of people, I mean, you can always, I'm not sure if you've gone that avenue, but you've asked your friends and family to share what you do with their friends. But then, you know what, it's just getting out there. That's why I was saying, you know, Instagram might be a really good place for you to be, because everybody there is visual, and what you're doing is really visual. You're going to connect a lot more with those people there than people who are looking for a lot of information. So you got to look at the avenues where you fit and where people are looking for the stuff that you do. And with all of that visual, Instagram is going to be a great place for you to create a whole new network and a whole new following of people who appreciate the design that you do and the concepts that you're putting into place. And then, of course, that whole fashion side of it too. So if it were me, I would be looking at how do I actually get what I do into people who appreciate the value of visual.
Yeah.
If you're starting on Instagram, because I am, will you also like put there like the things that you like when you go and see something from somebody else, like, oh, I like this guy, and like and how often do you do it?
Yeah, I would definitely say people want to still know that you're a human and that you like certain things, and they're going to start creating an emotional connection to you based on those ideas and things that you share. You want to have a good balance of the promotional stuff versus the stuff that you're going out and seeing, or the people that you like. So if you were going to do some pictures of your designs, post those up there. Post a picture of you working on the computer. This is who I'm hanging out with today. Here's a fun selfie. I'm out going to see a movie and take a picture of that kind of thing. Because people still want to know who you are, and they're still going to relate to you, but you're giving them an area where they're going to connect visually with what you're into, which is very visual.
Yeah, I guess they are starting to familiarize, if that is a word.
Yeah, familiarize themselves with you, and because you are still part of your brand, and people are going to recognize you regardless of your brand, of your name. They're going to recognize you as the person as well. Whatever you bring to the table, how you show up, is what they're going to connect to as well.
Totally. And you know, I'll give you probably we shared this on last week's call. The biggest thing that you can do to get love from other people is to give love, man. Is like we go out, I do a lot of networking, and that's where I grew my business. And rather than me going out and saying, here's what I do, and everybody shows up and you say, what do you do? And you say, oh, my name's Joe, and blah, blah, blah. And I vomit all my business crap on them. And I say, what do you do? And they do the same thing. And you just like end up just not saying anything. I'm looking for I'm asking questions. I'm finding out. I play a game to see how long I can go without people actually knowing what I do, because we get in these really cool conversations. I ask questions and I say, you know who you need to meet? You need to meet this person. And I start to connect people. And whatever you're doing, work on connecting other people. Be known as a connector. Create these three-way interactions, and you can do it online as well. So on whatever your Instagram or your business is, the best thing you can do is like you make your Instagram, like what you want to do is make sure, first of all, here, I'll give you a couple steps if you write them down. One, figure out your style and how you want to be perceived. Second, figure out who that customer avatar is. Like, who's your audience that you want to speak to? Because if you try and speak to everybody, it gets lost, right?
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, now where are they is the third thing. And then what do I want to say to them, right? And so you do those 4 things. And then you say, now I'm going to schedule it out. I'm going to map it out. Don't just leave it to chance. Don't just wing it. Map out an actual editorial content schedule that you're going to stick to every week, every month, every year. And then you say, okay, each week I'm going to post like maybe 3 things about my stuff. And then I'm going to be searching for 3 things that inspire me that other people are doing. So I'm going to find some art that really just makes me go, man, that's cool. And I'm going to post that piece of art on my Instagram or on my blog or on my website. And then I'm going to link back to that person and say, hey, something you did I thought was kick-ass, just giving you a heads up. Right? Not to promote what you're doing, just to give people love and say, hey, I think you guys should connect. And you start to put your feelers out there. Very quickly, people start to look at you and say, hey, what's this guy up to? Because you're not asking for anything. And so I know we go back to Gary Vaynerchuk, his last book was what? Jab, 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 right hook. And it was give, 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 give. Then you ask. So the more you give to your network, the more you give to your list or your market or to your customers, they're just going to naturally want to help you out. So that's how you want to build that strategy, especially for something in a creative space like yours. There's no shortage of artists that need exposure. And if you're the one that's giving them exposure on a platform where you're starting to generate traffic, that's going to grow exponentially.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we were talking about last week too, with that whole flush currency, and how it's all about putting in the bank all of these great things that you're doing for people and connecting with people. Mm-hmm. And that's a currency that's coming in. And then when you're going to have a lot of it, then you can actually take a withdrawal and start doing those asks. And you're still going to have a lot in the bank. And it's all about balancing those deposits and withdrawals.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you follow everybody like that follows you in Twitter?
Try to.
No.
I try. I'm not a big Twitter guy, but the more I'm doing stuff on Twitter, the more Twitter's like, hey, pay attention to me. I've got no shortage of places that I am. It's better to figure out like that 1 or 2 places that you really want to claim as your own, rather than trying to be a little bit everywhere, right? And so what you want to do is like pick a platform, pick a couple platforms, and own it. Right? Like if you're trying to be YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter, and I'm bad to give you this advice because I'm all over the place, but I've got a schedule, I'm building a team, and we're going to start to expand that. And the biggest thing that I did for myself this year was I went and got all my professional headshots. I look like this in all my photos and wrote my bios. I wrote the long ones, the medium ones, the short ones, the micro ones. So when I go and speak at events or go speak on like podcasts, I could just submit that. So it's consistent. So the big thing is be consistent across all the channels. And if people are following you, if they got a stupid brand, don't follow them. It'll allow people to follow you. But, I always say it's a 2-to-1 ratio, at least have, 1 to 2. Like if you have like 200 followers, at least follow 100 people. Try and go 50-50 if you can. Right. But I mean, it's just if you're doing something cool, let people follow you, but give them the love at the same time. Right. Cool. And anybody that's joined, we're getting a bunch of people that have joined now. If you guys got questions or comments, there's the question thing or comments. If you want to join, there's a seat available. I don't know what that is there. So that's probably Nestorino. If that's going to go on, you're probably going to get blocked. So slow it down there. But yeah, so if you want to have comments or questions, just throw them in there. And if you want to join the seat, jump in. We're probably going to go another 10 minutes and then shut her down. So the topic is around, should you use your personal name for your business? Jets, what are your thoughts on this now?
I think I'm going to go with yes. I want to have like this other personality that can stand for me when I'm working with a team, and they can actually connect with other people through that brand more than saying, oh, it's Jose, blah, 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 blah. Because first of all, it's like too large, and I mean, I want to really connect with other people and make a team at some point, even though right now I don't have it.
Mm-hmm. It's forward thinking. And planning, because I mean, if you have to set goals. Like if you're not putting a plan in place for where you want to be, you're never going to get there. And I'm sure you've read a lot of books and heard that all before, and it's true. And just writing down after this conversation today, you've made notes. Write down at this time next year, where do you see yourself? What kind of actions do you want to take in order to get from here to there? Mm-hmm. And continually doing that and getting shit done is what's going to get you there.
GSD, get shit done.
Yeah,
that's what we talk about all the time. You know here's the thing in taking action. I got a number of clients that I work with on a weekly basis, and I've started now to bring the conversation into the first conversation and even in the first email, which is if we do like an hourly meeting once a week and we do this for like a year, it's not so much what we do in that hour. It's the 6 days and 23 hours in between where you're taking action on things and you're testing ideas and you're consistent. You're finding what works and what doesn't work and bringing feedback loops is what's going to allow you to be accountable and scale your business. So if you're just waiting for that like one big thing to hit and you're thinking that if I just make it all perfect and I launch it, it's going to take off, that never happens. It's all the stuff that goes on prior to that, in between, that nobody sees. It's, for an Olympic athlete, nobody sees all the time they're putting in. They just see when they get on the trophy stand and they win their awards, right? Nobody sees all that work. And so like when people say it's overnight success, you lucked out, it's ignorant, right?
Yeah.
Oh, who's joining us? So I got Salah 08, a couple rules. Don't be weird. Don't be racist. Don't be sexist. Have some fun. I hope you're dressed up. Let's do it.
Yeah. Get a hat.
Where are you?
Hey, Salah.
Turn down your music, man. Okay, you're out. That's fun. I like being a moderator. It's fun. If you're gonna come on, just don't have music. Make sure we can see you. That's so fun, right? Anybody that's watching right now? Anybody? No, you're good, man. You're good. When I talk about the weirdness factor, I do this all the time in my teams. The weirdness factor is the difference between who you are normally, like when you're talking to people in like we're having a whiskey and we're just chatting. Is this your normal voice versus like this persona that you're trying to create? And if that is such a big gap, that's the weirdness gap. So if you're like people say, well, I'm already weird. It's like perfect. If you're consistently that weird, then you're not a weirdo. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, brother?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. So be weird, don't be a weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when it comes to sales. Don't be the salesy weirdo.
Salesy weirdo, man. Nobody likes that salesy douchebag. Like I coach sales, I train sales. It's like when you have really fun, real conversations, forget about your brand, forget about all this stuff. If people go, man, you're fun to talk to, there's a natural flow, there's a conversation, you help them solve problems, sales becomes just a natural byproduct of you doing good work and having great conversations. And so whether it's your brand is your name, whether your brand is your business, if you help people out, that's what kicks ass.
Have you heard about, I don't know where I heard it, but it's like somebody said
I love this guy. We got to connect, yeah.
It's a nudist Buddhist principle. Like people will like accept that you're either a nudist or a Buddhist, but they will say a nudist Buddhist and it's too much. Like it's okay if you're a nudist, it's okay if you're a Buddhist, but a nudist Buddhist is just too much to handle.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. And for me, like I one of the things that I love about like rapport and connecting with people is I love this hat. It's so sweaty. I love with when you do those personality profiles about you fit in this quadrant or fit in this quadrant and you're like this and you're like that and you start to categorize yourself and stereotype yourself and others. It's not so much about like where you fit in, but can you connect with people that aren't like you? Right? If you know that you fit in a quadrant, that means that naturally you're going to connect with 25% of the people. What are you doing to better understand that other 75%? Like I love that quote by Carl Jung, anything that irritates us about others leads us to a better understanding of ourselves. And that's kind of philosophy I live on is like, I think most people are weird. I think most people don't think the way I do. I'm a nut job most of the time. And the stuff that I do doesn't resonate with some people. It's not so much do we do the same things or think the same way, but how do we connect? And that's how you can scale and grow business. If you can apply and you can resonate with a larger population and still not be a weirdo, you win the game, right? All right.
Yeah.
Richard, let's connect on LinkedIn, brother. I know you got to go. Happy Dance Farm. You're solid. Come, we're doing this every week, man. So we're gonna go in a couple minutes. I wanted to give you guys. I just threw this up today on my website for these Whiskey Fridays. If you sign up, you'll get access. I'm just gonna do an email just to remind people we're doing this every week. We'll do the replays through there. We're just gonna have some fun. And if you want to be a guest or you have questions, email me through there, and we'll make stuff happen for you. So, any last thoughts before we kick it off? I know we've gone a little bit long. We had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but just Jets. What are your give me your last 30 seconds, and then Nicole, and then I'll close it off.
How can I get you on LinkedIn or Facebook or something?
If you go to my website, I just put the link there. Okay. My website, you go to my homepage or work with me. All my contact info is there, or my Twitter. I'm my ego's got the best of me, so I'm everywhere on there. So it's easy to find me, man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So what are your last thoughts here? Has this helped you sort of progression of your business? Yeah,
a lot. Cool. For me, it's difficult to connect with new people, but I think it's you cannot just stay in one place and believe that something magical is going to happen. You have to move, and you have to start. Even if you're starting in 0, if you do 0.1 today, it's 0.1 tomorrow.
It's still forward, yeah.
Yeah, and you can do 0.2 tomorrow. So, this call it has been great. I really appreciate all the good insight that you, the pros. I can't say, I don't know, what is that, 20s, early 20s, 30s?
I'm 20, I'm 19 and a half.
No,
what are you come on now.
I know, but it's chatter, is that from the 20s or your...
the flapper girl, yeah. I got you. Yeah,
he's from the 20s, from the 20s. I'm like, what?
We're all in our 20s. We're all in our 20s. Thanks.
Okay, this is what I look like every day.
Yeah, I woke up like this.
Yeah.
I'm so glad, man, brother. I'm so glad you joined. This is exactly why I wanted to start this series, because I have no idea who's out there. That if we do something and they jump on and they have a question and we just chat, you never know what happens. Yeah. This is totally the forum, because every other thing out there is what's the agenda? What's going on? What's the, how do I have to sign up for this? Do I got to buy something? This is just a fun thing we're doing each week, man. This is just cool.
Well, it's fun, and it's also reciprocal. You can get a lot of good information without I don't know, in an easier way. To connect with people and know what they're thinking, feedback, and all of that you were talking before. So I really look forward for the next one next Friday.
Cool, man. Yeah, make sure you join next week and jump on. And if you have questions, once you sign up there, my email will be in there. You could just email me any questions, and we're gonna. I've got some people, actually, a couple friends that are really, really solid in NLP and world class. I'm going to bring them on as guests. We're going to have some really cool conversations. So this thing is going to grow, and I think it's going to be just some badass conversations. So that's my goal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is the day before Halloween. If anybody's watching the end of this video, this is not what we look like every week. So I'm going to kick it over to Nicole. Give us your sort of summary. I know whoever just joined, we're closing it up in about 2 minutes. So if you have questions, throw them in there. Nicole, give us the 30-second pitch about how you think today.
Today was really cool, because I really like the idea of having people come in and ask some questions and seeing their insights as well. And of course, for me to see what kind of things people are struggling with as far as their social media goes, and not understanding what platforms to use, how often to post, how does social media actually help you as a business is really cool for me to know, because these are the things that I do to help my clients. And so I love getting that insight. I loved hearing about the ideas or the feedback from using your personal name versus a company name, and getting some of the comments on the side from people who have actually gone through having a business in their own name and some of the struggles that they had with it, especially when it came to selling the business. If that's a long-term goal, you want to have an exit strategy and sell the business. If it's your personal name, it's a little bit difficult, which is really neat. You know, it's something you might not think about. And then, of course, if you hire a team, how likely are they going to be brand ambassadors if they're working for a name? Some really cool chit chat today, or blabbing, I guess, today.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
And and super insightful. In the end, you know, it kind of, when we started this conversation, I was thinking, because I always go back to, well, should I just have used my name, or should I, you know, am I happy that I created a business name? And I think that that's something that a lot of people really struggle with. So it's really neat to see both the pros and the cons of people who have done it, like in Mike, who uses his name, the things that he likes about it. And it's just great perspective into how you want to run your business and being forward thinking.
Cool. Love it. I love it. All right. So I'm gonna do, I feel like, you know, remember Jerry Springer, closing thoughts, right?
Yeah.
With the stupid Viking head. I think, you know, the biggest takeaway for anybody today is that no matter what you call your business, all that shit doesn't matter. It matters that you make a difference, you make an impact for your customers, that you go out and do something. There's no, and if you're afraid of what's going to happen, you're waiting for it to be perfect. Guess what? It's never going to be perfect. The only way you're going to get good is by putting it out there, putting it to the test, making stuff happen, and getting feedback. And for you, Just Jets, I've been waiting to do this. Make sure you toot your own horn.
Yeah,
that's why we're so excited to take these off. So that's what I would say, man. It's like, go out, have fun, talk about what you're doing, tell people what you're doing. People are going to say, hey, man, that's cool. The biggest thing I always say, the litmus test, is if you're doing like networking or something and you're going to test out, like, say, your elevator pitch or what you do. You look somebody in the eye and they say, what do you do? And you say, you know what, I love my art so much. I connect in the arts community. I have these prints that I do a bunch of cool stuff. And when you say it and they look at you like with a blank stare, it sucks. If you say it and they're like, yeah, that's cool, then it's good. Don't be afraid to change anything you do or anything you say by gauging the feedback that you get from the people you're talking to. And again, like I said, blow your own horn. Woo woo. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to shut it down. Thanks, guys, for joining us. If you go to the link that I shared with you guys, again, the Whiskey Friday, the replays will be on here, on YouTube, all over the place. Sign up. Have fun. We're doing this every week. Sorry, Kevin Scullion, you just caught the tail end of it. But we're saying toot your own horn. Woo. So that's it for today. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you guys
next week.
It sounds great.